guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to do part 2 of the story I did yesterday, where the father and husband went scorched earth on his lying, deceitful wife and his extremely disrespectful and spoiled brat daughter, after finding out that the daughter wasn't his and the wife had been lying to him for 15 years. And obviously after a few years, as you all remember, the daughter was unbelievably rude and disrespectful to him and all that. And the story ended, well, let me just backtrack a little bit. For those of you that didn't see this, he finds this stuff out, and like I said, goes scorched earth on them, okay? Because he was a great father to the girl, and he was a great husband to the wife. He had a very bad childhood. He pretty much grew up in the street, was in a gang, and got his life together for her and the kid. He got his GED, even after he had to go to prison for a month. He got his GED, became a mechanic, and eventually started his own business, saved up enough money, moved him out of the hood, out into the suburbs, bought a house, nice life, showered his daughter with affection and all sorts of nice things. In my opinion, spoiled her a bit, and then finds this out, okay? And he goes, like I said, scorched earth. He plays it cool, contacts the attorney that helped him when he was... and he had to go to prison for a month when he was like 18 or 19 years old, and secretly plans he sold the house, his business, canceled the girl's private school, her horse lessons, all this stuff, and then revealed all he knew at her quinceañera at 15 years old. Because he saw this, he found out because he found her old tablet. He was looking for some pictures for the quinceañera and saw all these texts between the daughter and the mother talking about this and how he's not the father and the other guy was the father, his cousin who became a priest. This is crazy. It's like some crazy daytime TV drama. You all saw it. And that's it. And he's done. And it was obviously a big emotional mess. And it was revealed at quinceañera, which that part I disagree with because I thought that went too far with the girl. The girl was a little shit. Don't get me wrong, for many, many reasons. And I agree with him. Like, he sold everything and sent him back to the freaking hood. And no more private school for her. No more horse lessons and all that. You make your bed, you lie in it. Laying down the law. The ex-wife, she's toast. He whipped his cousin's ass 3 different times. I mean, you all heard the story. I had no problem with that. The only thing I had, it was a bit too far in the public thing with the quinceañera, because at the end of the day, the girl, she was a little shithead. But she still was a kid, and kids will slightly, I'm talking slightly, get a slight pass for a little bit. I don't mind sending her ass back to the hood to go to public school. That must have been real fun. And canceling the horse lessons and the great life you provided with her. But the public thing, bit much. Some people disagree with me. That's fine. That's your business. But anyhow, it ended with him moving out of state, off to Idaho, as far away from New York City as possible, started a new life, met a new girl at church, just like the other one, engaged to her. They now have a baby. And then it ended with him going back to NYC to see his grandmother and all. And guess who he runs into? His ex-wife, who still is in love with him, wants him back and all that. And now it ends with the daughter, or not really his daughter, the girl he thought was his daughter, reaching out to him. This is where we get picked off today. And you're going to see here where the daughter is going to try to reach out to him and make a connection. And this guy's going to have to decide whether he wants to do this or not. And you hear and find out stuff that was going on behind the scenes. So, jumping into it, that went longer than I expected for the little recap. So, thank you for bearing with me. So, his update begins. I'm waiting for the moderators to approve this. It's been a while, and yesterday was Father's Day. Luna, this is the girl who he thought was his daughter until he found out, tried calling me several times, and I looked at the phone. I wanted to answer. I didn't, but all that kept lingering in my mind was those messages. The messages he saw with her saying that he's not her father and all this other nasty shit she was saying, being a real shithead. What she said to her mother, to her real father, her friends, etc. So I ignored it. Eventually, I listened to her voicemail, and she sounded so cheerful. She briefly apologized for her actions, but to me, it didn't sound sincere, just passive. Maybe I'm overthinking it. She mentioned about her son, her fiance, and asked me to call her. Yeah, fat chance. Simple request, and I became infuriated. My grandmother and my fiance are telling me to give her a chance. But when I asked my grandmother if Luna or Marisol ever asked about me, in the 4 years I left, she said Marisol did, constantly, but not Luna. Imagine that. So in my twisted mind, I think Luna wants me in her life to her child that would be taken care of. Or maybe she wants to milk me, and that made me so angry. You can't blame this guy at all for thinking the girl's reaching out to him just so like she can get some extra money and support, because now she, at a young age, 18, 19 years old, got pregnant, has a little kid. Can't blame this guy at all after what he went through. I wouldn't blame him. And this guy really has to think about, does he want to let this girl come back into his life after what happened? It's a tough situation because, remember, for 15 years, he thought this was his daughter, right? I mean, it's a tough call. But does he want to risk having all this drama come back when he finally started over and he got past a lot of his anger, well, to some degree, his anger issues, met a new woman that supposedly is a very good woman to him. He has a new son, which he took a paternity test, a DNA or paternity test, by the way. It is his kid. It's a tough call, but you will see what happens. He says, even Marisol tried calling me constantly, and I'm already thinking about changing my number. So I spent the majority of my Father's Day in the gym, hitting the heavy bag, and I have an appointment today with my anger management group. Maybe they can give me an outside opinion. If this ever gets published by the moderators, I would like to get your opinion as well. In the meantime, I'm just figuring this out on my own. Now continues on saying, I would like to thank such and such for his advice on sending me an email as a start. I sent a small email to Luna that simply said, "What do you want?" So he decides to respond. And that's very direct. What do you want? I didn't expect the multi-paragraph response. I did. She started the email profusely apologizing for how she acted. She said when she found out I wasn't her father, she was angry. She confronted her mother and she cried, making her promise not to tell me. Since she felt lost, she began talking to my cousin, her real father, more and more. He told her of my violent past, the things I used to do, things that I kept a secret from her. What a scumbag. His cousin, for you guys remember from the story from yesterday, was he became a priest, okay? And he obviously had a thing for the dude's wife, and he's the one that hooked up with her when he went to jail for a month for self-defense, I might add. And this guy was just a jealous, envious shithead. And if you guys saw the story, he whipped his ass 3 times. I think he deserves another ass whooping, to be honest. So he laid all this stuff to the girl. This made me angry, and the more they spent time together, the more she pulled away from me. She said she felt bad from time to time, but my cousin would reinforce her feelings toward me. So his cousin, this jealous motherfucker, was constantly manipulating her and all that. And don't get me wrong, she's responsible for her own actions, but she's still young. But this guy, a grown-ass adult, pretending to be this guy's friend and confidant, a family member, was really screwing him from the start. The day of the quinceañera, she said, while we were dancing, she realized how stupid she was acting. She realized how much I loved her, and then her messages appeared on the screen. When he was doing the dance, guys, that's when they were showing pictures of them, the family and all that stuff on a big screen, and he had the messages that revealed all the truth pop up there too. Now, when she says this part here about how much she realized how much she loved her and blah, 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 I gotta wonder if she's rewriting history. Because believe me, at the time, she sure as hell didn't act in a way like how much, that she loved him. You all remember from the story yesterday. In the days that followed, she was told by my wife's side of the family to give me space, to not call me, and she listened. She said she was watching her family fall apart because of her, and she couldn't do anything to fix it. She told me she understood why I did what I did, yet she wanted to reach out. Her grandfather kept telling me that I loved her, that I raised her, and despite what I saw through the messages, I would do the right thing, and she believed him. During the divorce, her mother fell into a dark place, not talking to her, barely eating. She was just existing. When she found out that my name was removed from the birth certificate, she had a panic attack. Yeah, he did that, by the way. This guy, he got probably the best freaking lawyer that I think I've ever heard of with all the benefits. He made out like a bandit in the divorce process, for you guys that remember the story. Even so good that there's a part of me I was questioning the accuracy of all this. But, okay. And yes, he got off the birth certificate, so he didn't have to pay anything anymore. Her mother told her that they will have to move back to Brooklyn, and when she asked about her life and school, her mother told her that was the life your father gave you, and he's not your father anymore. So she called me, begging, and I cursed her out and hung up on her. Hey, She got what she deserved there. She was being a shithead to him for years, and after all that happened, he was like, I'm done. I'm not paying for your private school. I'm not paying for all your nice things here. You can let your real daddy, who you wanted to be with so badly, he can do it. And wait till you see what the real daddy does. So she called me begging and blah, blah, blah. She cried for days. She tried to reach out to my cousin, who pretty much ignored her. She even went to the church, and he told her to leave. Called her a mistake. There you go. This guy's true character. What a scumbag. Her mother refused to talk to her, basically locked herself in a room, only leaving to use the bathroom or take a shower. She begged her grandfather to take her to see me, and when they came to Long Island, she learned that I had moved. Her grandfather told her that he will talk to my grandmother and find out where I went. This guy, obviously, he took off and went to Idaho. You want to talk about New York City to Idaho. And I don't think it was Boise either. And I don't know how busy or I don't know how busy, what kind of city Boise is like. Anybody from Boise, let me know. But I'm sure quite different than NYC. But it sounds like he was out in the country in Idaho. For the next 2 years, according to her, it was hell. The entire neighborhood knew what happened to her and her mother. Her father avoided her at all costs and tried not to pay child support. Well, there's a freaking surprise. This guy's a lowlife. It took her grandfather to threatening him to start paying. In the meantime, her mother did not talk to her. She was just locked in her room. The few times they did speak, she called her an ungrateful girl, and that she was the reason why she lost the love of her life. Women in accountability. No. She's the one that cheated when he was in jail, for self-defense, I might add, with his cousin she cheated with, and lied about it for 15 years. She knew the daughter was the cousin's, but she knew, for whatever reason, she knew this guy was obviously going to turn his life around and be a sure thing. Yes, the daughter acted like a jackass the last couple of years when she found out what happened, but still, that's on Mama's fault. Don't blame her. Her grandfather had to put her mother in her place by telling her that her infidelity was the reason why she lost the love of her life, and she locked herself back in the room. Well, good for the grandfather. These women need to be put in their place. So Luna barely stayed at home, and that was how she met the father of her child. Translation, she was never at home, and she was out. She couldn't get the loving from her daddy, so she got loving from some other dude. She says the guy worked at the corner de bodega, and they were the same age, and after a few months of talking, one thing led to another, and she ended up pregnant. Her grandfather was furious, but when her boyfriend insisted that he would marry her, that things cooled down. Yeah, how does that usually go? 18 years old, and the guy's going to marry her because she got pregnant? We all know how those things usually work out. But the guy obviously probably is an honorable guy and doing what he feels is right. So, a little credit to the guy, but these things usually don't work. Luna said that the pregnancy was a blessing in disguise. Her mother began talking to her again, and even before leaving the room, to be by her side for every checkup. Being a senior in high school while pregnant was a cliche, but she made it work. A month before the baby was born, she graduated, and her boyfriend joined the Marines. He wanted to elope before leaving, but she wants a wedding. So he's going to go off and be in the Marines, which I respect on many levels. But, again, you know the stories about the guys that go in the military and they get married at that age, what typically happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what you guys know from the stories I've done. It goes on, her boyfriend had no issues naming his son after me. Apparently his father was absent, and the fact that he was a junior was a reminder that he shared the name of a man who didn't want him. When she heard I was in town, she got a speeding ticket trying to get her grandmother's apartment. She wanted to see me, wanted to apologize, wanted me to see her son. She just wanted to see me. However, she was late and she cried. When her mother gave me my number, she wanted to call me immediately, but the entire neighborhood was talking on how I beat up her father, the cousin, so she waited. Her mother was sad to see that I moved on and had a son. Luna was happy to know that she had a little brother, but her mother became a little more depressed. I felt sorry for Marisol. I wouldn't feel sorry for her. After I read the email, I called Marisol, this is his ex, and asked if this was true. That she refused to talk to Luna for years and blaming her for our divorce. She confirmed it, and I yelled at her first. but I regained my composure when I heard her crying. I told her to move on. Exactly. It's been years. Get out of the bathroom if she's still hanging out in the bathroom or her bedroom, and move the hell on. I told her to move on, find someone else, but she said no. She told me that I was her husband, and I will always be her husband. Too late. You made your bed, you're lying it. Go be with the cousin. I broke my heart a little. I then had my grandmother go see my cousin so I could talk to him. Now listen to this. The second he heard my voice, he began to cry and begged me to forgive him. I just asked him why he didn't be a better father to Luna. Why he poisoned her against me, and he said it was envy. He was in love with Marisol, and I took her from him. What I say from the beginning of the video from yesterday. This dude, he didn't want this guy to get involved with this girl. It's because he obviously liked her. In this case, in love with her. And jealous and envious and all that. When I was arrested, he consoled her, manipulated her, and barely at the last second with her, and he realized what she was doing and shoved him off her, but he already came. When she found out she was pregnant, he knew the baby was his. They both knew. It was supposed to be a secret. Marisol took her double hysterectomy as God's punishment for her infidelity and deceit. When Luna turned 13, he was drunk. Seeing my life and envy was the one sin he couldn't shake, so he wanted to ruin it. And he did. I told him that when we see each other again in hell, I will be his eternal torturer, and hung up on him. Jocelyn was there for me. She told me everything will be okay. That cousin of his is a piece of shit. He whipped his ass 3 times at the end of the story from yesterday. I'm sure you all remember. This guy definitely deserves another ass kicking. He deliberately told the girl... That's how it all started. She was 13, and I guess everything was cool up until then. He got drunk because he was her uncle, told her what happened. The mother obviously confirmed it, and that's when she started being a shithead to the dude in this story. It doesn't justify her actions, but this guy started because he was envious. He wanted to screw up a situation. This is why I tell you guys, you have to watch out for people in your life, okay? People that aren't happy and they don't have what... you got something they don't want. There are people in this world. It doesn't matter, make a difference if they're your family. They'll try to sabotage it. Okay? Believe me. Continues. Luna and I commented through the email. I spoke to her on the 4th, which I'm assuming is the 4th of July. She spent over an hour crying while talking to me. I even spoke to her boyfriend, who asked me permission to marry her. I thought it was funny but honorable. My wedding is next month, and Jocelyn wants me to invite Luna. Oh boy. This guy's taking a major risk letting her back in his life. I mean, by even responding to her. Again, he thought she was his daughter for 15 years, and he obviously loved her. And in spite of all the anger and the wrath of Khan that he was doing to her, at the end of the day, once that anger subsided, to him, this was his girl. But... does he really want to risk bringing this into his new life that he's trying to have a better life without any freaking drama? It's a tough call. He said, my wedding is next month. God, I hope this guy gets a prenup. And Jocelyn wants me to invite Luna. At the same time, Luna wants me to give her away for her wedding in November. My future father-in-law sat me down and told me that he couldn't grasp my situation, but respected the road I took. Because the road saved his little girl, he gave him a handsome grandson and a future son-in-law that he would kill for. That made me laugh, but he told me that I needed to go get rid of the anger and start forgiving, but not forgetting. He's right. Yeah, this guy had every reason to be angry and everything that happened, but at the end of the day, you can't carry around all that anger and all that, because it's a poison. It'll just eat you alive. All right? Believe me, I've had times in my life when I held a whole lot of anger, and it didn't do anything. You had to let it out. You had to go through the emotions, but you carry that around forever, it'll eat you alive. Life's too short. Yeah, you can learn to forgive, but you sure as hell don't forget. So, we gave Luna an invite to my wedding, even offered to pay for the plane ticket. She can pay for the goddamn plane ticket. Her boyfriend, or should I say fiance, said he will work it off in my garage when they arrive. I kind of like him. As for me giving her away, I don't know yet. Let's see how the wedding happens first. You're damn right. Thank you again for the advice and for the few direct messages. No one was rude or disrespectful. You guys helped me so much. I'll update if something happens. But for now, I have to get things ready for my wedding next month. Well, so guys, that is part 2. And you got to see the girl reached out to him, the daughter, and what supposedly was going on behind the scenes. Who knows? Maybe in those few years, she grew up and she was sincerely and truly sorry for her actions and all that stuff like that. Or maybe she just wants the guy back in life to take advantage of, to help with her. Who knows? You really don't, you know. But you're going to see in part 3, which I'll do tomorrow on Sunday, how this all concludes and what happens with the daughter and all that. But like I said before, guys, this was the craziest revenge story I've ever heard of what he did in the first thing. And when I first read it, to be honest with you, I didn't expect it to get to where it is now, where this girl may be coming back in his life. So you will see how this saga concludes tomorrow. But it's very interesting. And again, it's a tough call. He thought the daughter was his for all those years and found out and all that stuff like that. Some guys may say, don't ever contact me again. Others may give her a chance. You never know. So, but anyhow, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.